Welcome to another episode of the How to Do Your 20s podcast. And in this episode, we're talking about how to make the next $100,000 with an e-commerce business. And I have on the show today Andrew from eCommerece Fuel, an amazing podcast that really helped me grow my business to the next level. So Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? What got you started in e-commerce?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on, Travis. Appreciate it. And I think it's a really cool concept for a podcast you're doing. For me, my story in a nutshell is, kind of got out of college, went and did the corporate job thing for a couple of years out of school, and learned a ton. Got a lot of great experience. Had a chance to save some money, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. Primarily because I didn't have control over my time and really where I lived and really location at time were the two big things. And so after a couple of years, just kind of quit cold turkey without any real plan exactly of what I wanted to do. And after doing some research, I decided I wanted a business that met those goals, was something that could give me those, freedom of time and money, and something that also didn't require a huge outlay of money to start with, and that I could scale up, that was fairly scalable. And so after doing some research, settled on e-commerce, kind of did some early research on a niche for a couple of weeks, ended up picking radio equipment, and just kind of worked on that for a year and a half. And fortunately, based on a little bit of luck and a little bit of work, I was blessed to be able to build a business that at least covered my living expenses. And so from there, just have kind of taken it and been full-time e-commerce since then. Built a couple of different businesses, e-commerce over that time period, and now I blog about e-commerce as well as run a private community for kind of established e-commerce entrepreneurs over at eCommercefuel.com.
Awesome. So you chose dropshipping, and how come you picked dropshipping over other types of e-commerce businesses?
At the time, I chose it because it was low risk. I didn't have any experience with e-commerce, which made it a nice way to learn. Because it's if you buy $10,000 worth of product and it's a bad niche, you're kind of stuck with it. Obviously you have higher margins there, but it's a little riskier. So I wanted to learn on something that was cheaper, and then secondly, probably even more importantly, it was completely location independent. You can definitely structure an e-commerce business to be location independent when you're buying and holding your own inventory. It takes a little more work. You got to set up fulfillment centers and things, but that was the reasons that I picked dropshipping then, at least.
So would you recommend dropshipping then to most people, or just depends?
I think it really depends. I think, my next business, I'll say this, my next business will not be a drop shipping business. It will be something where I either am stocking my own product if I find something that I feel like I can get a good margin on, or probably more likely developing my own product, just because with drop shipping, your margins are there's low risk, but low reward, right? That's kind of how it goes with just about anything. And so easy to start, easy to get off the ground, but there's tons of competition because the barriers to entry are so low. If you're drop shipping, you're almost certainly selling someone else's product, and Amazon is becoming the de facto place to sell anything that is a commodity online. And so it's hard to compete it's hard to compete against 100 other sellers that are listing on Amazon, and everyone trusts Amazon. So I think it's a great way to get started. There's still some niches that you can definitely make dropshipping work in, but it takes a lot more work. You got to be really good at SEO. You got to have a really clear idea of where your value add is apart from the product. And if you've got the capital and or the experience in e-commerce, or even just one of those two, I think the return you'll see by investing in your own product or bringing your product in house in the long run is definitely worth it. So.
Okay, awesome. So before we get into it, one tactic that I thought was really interesting that you do is you use a lot of PPC up front, and then you kind of over time lower that down. And why don't you continue using the PPC?
Because kind of going back to the margins, it's for drop shipping, usually the margins won't support it. So, you're looking at in margins for drop shipping, they vary based on a whole bunch of things, of course, but you're probably looking 10% on the low side to maybe 30% on the high side. And really 25%, I get a lot of obviously assumptions and generalizations here, but 25% roughly is where you're going to break even with PPC. So, yeah, I mean, if you're drop shipping and you have a high recurring customer base where you can afford to maybe lose a little bit of money on that first purchase, but that people will come back and buy from you 3, 4, 5 times, so your lifetime value is really high, yeah, maybe that works. But if you don't, it's a hard way to scale up a business with PPC. And so we would use it early on really not to make money as much, but to get some traction to figure out who our customers were, because we're trying to figure out these niches we know nothing about.
Hmm.
And SEO takes a while to kick in, right? And so we would use it to really, more than anything, make sure the business is working well and ultimately get a chance to talk to customers and learn what their pain points were, what they needed, who they were. Because 90% of the time when you get into a niche that you don't know anything about, you're almost guaranteed to be wrong, at least on some perspective of what is it customers want, really who are they, and you're going to have to shift that. So we'll use PPC to speed up that process, and then once we have a little good idea about that, we'll phase that back and invest more in SEO, which it's really with the lower margins. It just takes it makes more sense to be able to grow a business with SEO because it's I don't know if it's cheaper long term, but it's recurring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we keep throwing around SEO. And for people that don't know, how do you define SEO or search engine optimization?
it's just the process of getting your website to rank well in the search engines like Google or Bing. So, how do you get your store or your web presence, whatever it may be, to come up when people search for terms in those search engines?
Okay. And so on page SEO is, I know, a really big issue that a lot of people don't do properly. Are there some common mistakes you see with people in their on page SEO?
Common mistakes? Yeah, I think the nice thing about on-page SEO is you don't. I mean, back in the old days, you used to have to. You could do a bunch of tricks. You could keyword stuff, and if you're trying to rank for, I mean, Travis, you were talking about selling blue booty shorts before we got on. If you're
Yeah.
trying to rank for blue booty shorts, um, you could just include that phrase a dozen times or something on your site. It's a lot simpler now, I think, and I think it's common mistakes would really be maybe overthinking it,
Hmm.
stuffing, keyword stuffing. And then on the other side, not just being intentional about it. Because really, a lot of on page SEO is when we look to optimize a page, we just make sure you've got the primary keyword in the title at some point, make sure it's in the heading once, in the meta title once,
Hmm.
make sure it's in the body of the copy on your page once, and potentially make sure your internal linking structure, so other links on your site that link to that page, have the keywords in the anchor text or at least a variation of it, and that's about it. If
Hmm.
you do that, Google's pretty smart about knowing what that page is about, and then it comes back to kind of the reputation of the overall domain. So those would be the two mistakes I'd see: is overdoing it and not thinking about it at all.
Yeah, I think two things that I'd like to add is make sure you pick the right keywords. I think a lot of people just go with their first thought. And for instance, using my company as an example, we might call them boy shorts. Well, if I look on what boy shorts really are, no, actually, the common term in the dance world is booty shorts. So we definitely want to use that keyword as much as possible. Oh, and also making sure basically that the meta tags, basically the body and the meta tags on the search engine results, are something that people want to click on. It's not just keyword optimized. It's something that actually is going to be something interesting that people want to click on. But the next thing I think really is the getting links, and a lot of people focus a lot about this. And what are some of the common mistakes you see with people trying to get links to their website?
Getting links is all about, from my perspective, if you're going to do it correctly, is building relationships and thinking through how you can help other people.
Mm.
I mean, it's kind of common sense, but I think it's hard to put into practice when you're out there. I mean, the old strategies. I mean, even 2014, almost 2015 here of kind of sending people emails, being like, "Hey, will you link to this?" or "Hey, you want to exchange links?" It still happens, and I think uh, that's why SEO is getting so difficult, and why SEO is really hard, and why it's so expensive, is because
Mm.
it takes it's not just about creating content, it's about building relationships and figuring out that puzzle of how is what I'm doing going to help somebody else. How do I build up and strike up a rapport and a relationship with them, and how do I get them to link back to me in a way that is mutually beneficial, and one that takes a lot of work, and two, it's hard and it's time consuming and it's really difficult to do well.
Hmm. Yeah, it
So
is.
yeah.
It's another thing I think I get people messaging me with websites that are totally unrelated and they want me to put a link to their website. That just seems, it's kind of like what you were saying. It's not mutually beneficial. It's kind of a waste of their time to do it. And I think Google kind of sees that too, is like, hey, what's going on here? How come this site that has nothing to do with this other site is linking? And I think if you do too much of that, Google will definitely put the kibosh on your website.
Yeah, agreed.
So long tail keywords is a tactic that I think is really important to use, and it's basically trying to go after words that are, for instance, using the blue booty shorts. So a short keyword might be just booty shorts, and that's got 60,000 searches a month. And a long tail variation might be blue lycra booty shorts, and that's another tactic I think that is important to make sure you're using, trying to go after traffic for those long tail keywords. Do you utilize a lot of long tail keyword articles and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, your long tail keywords are going to be the number of hits that you'll see for people searching for them will be much lower, but it'll be a lot easier to rank for them. And when people do come to your site for them, they will convert at a much higher rate. So yeah, it's a huge integral part of our strategy, and we will do that to some extent. I mean, we'll definitely map that out to the extent that we can in terms of, hey, doing the keyword research. Here's some fairly specific and applicable long tail keywords, and we'll map those out in terms of our articles, in terms of our, especially in terms of our site structure and our internal linking. But more than anything, you'll probably see if you just get on and start writing long tail informative articles about whatever it is you're trying to rank for, you're going to naturally be including a lot of those keywords that people are searching for. I don't know if this is accurate, but I heard a quote once that like something like 50% of Google searches have never ever before been searched on in the history of the world,
Oh wow.
which is, and again, I heard that,
Hmm.
you know what people say about hearing stuff on the internet, rumors on the internet. So, but still, to think just there's so many searches you can't necessarily predict, and I think just going through and writing really in-depth, detailed resources again on whatever it is that you're focusing on, you'll inadvertently rank for a lot of those long tail keywords that you otherwise might not.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah, super crucial part of our strategy.
So, do you have any like unconventional like SEO tactics for getting links back to your websites? Anything in particular you do?
I don't know about unconventional. I kind of feel like I'm disappointing people because I use my strategies, and they're like, "Oh, great, I could go read this on SEO Moz." But I think for me, it's about reaching out to people, building relationships before you need something.
Hmm.
It's about doing a lot of legwork on those sites. Some ones that we've used in the past for our e-commerce site is like product donations
Mm.
has been really helpful. So we've got a lot of good links that way by just finding a good blogger or somebody, especially if they do write-ups or tech articles, and pitching, just sending them free product. Say, hey man, we'll send you some free product as long as you're willing to do a write-up for us. And that produces one, great content on their site. Two, usually produces some great backlinks back to our site, and a lot of times internal links deep within our site, which is nice. Those, really the relate, and I guess like buying guides, we'll do a lot of buying guides as well in the past. Going out again, the trick there is finding people who really need it
Hmm.
and writing outreach emails. I think getting good at writing fantastic outreach emails that are personalized, that really show that you've spent time getting to know the site owner, that show that you've really thought through about what their visitors could use and benefit for, and not being aggressive about pushing your links or your agenda. It's hard to do well, and it takes time. But I think that's one of the best investments we've made in terms of getting links. So those are some of the strategies we've used and that have been really effective.
Have you ever contacted magazines by chance related to your industry?
We have. It depends. Some of the times, in terms of print advertising, do you mean?
Or just in general? So one of the things I was trying to consider doing is getting, maybe it's a little bit different with my type of a business, but trying to get magazines to, or newspapers to cover like our story. And that's a tactic that I'm hoping to start using in the next month or two, even local magazines, and just being like, hey, we're an unconventional business. We're using social media to sell dance clothing. Obviously, I'll spin it a lot better, and trying to get links back to the website through that.
Yeah, we haven't. Not necessarily. I mean, not for my experience. I think for what we've done with e-commerce, no, that hasn't been something that we've done. I think you could definitely, if you thought through it well and approached it based on their agenda and their editorial calendar and things like that. Yeah, I think that could help. But it's not something that I've done successfully.
Yeah, and I think, it depends on your story, obviously. And I was talking with somebody, because a lot of my friends, when I told them, yeah, I want to get a newspaper to cover us, my friends are like, oh, that's dumb. Newspapers don't want to talk about you. They're busier. But I actually recently talked to a person that has contacts within the newspaper, and I kind of told him that. He's like, look, they're always looking for, they need to have a new story all the time. If you can pitch it in the right way, of course they're going to want to cover your thing?
Yeah, I think it comes down to yeah, I think it comes down exactly to the pitch and their timing. And one thing that I think you can do too is if there are people in whether it's magazines or newspapers and you're really focused on a certain niche, building up a rapport with them. It goes back to just building those relationships before you need them,
Hmm.
building up that rapport, being a sounding board for them naturally, letting them know that, hey, if they ever need a question or resource on this, that you're there available as a resource, sharing their material so that they start to get to know you, because they're going to be anyone is 10 times more receptive to a pitch from someone that they know and feel like they've got a little bit of rapport with, as opposed to a cold pitch.
Hmm.
So that I mean definitely can help, I think, too, in the media world as well.
So one thing that I know we both have done is anger the Google gods. And what I mean by this is using not necessarily the most white hat of techniques to get links and stuff like that. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I built my first site on, selling radio equipment, a couple of years after that, decided, hey, I'd like to do this again. Man, I've learned so much. I can do this 10 times as quickly. I had a little more money to invest. And so I figured, hey, I'm just going to hire a lot of the stuff out. Last time I did all the SEO myself. Oh my goodness, it was so much work. I did all the web design myself. It was so much work. And so we opened up a site selling boat motors, and hired someone to do the design, hired someone to do the SEO, and the SEO for a while worked great, because it's a big contract too. It was a big 6 month contract that we signed, and for a while things went well, and we were ranking top of the search engines. The initial traction was fantastic, and it lasted for maybe a year and a half. But what happened was, and I knew this was going on, the SEO firm that we hired, a lot of the work was done overseas. A lot of it was low quality work. It was building links they weren't too shady, but some of them were shady. I knew it was not. Some of the stuff that was going on, I didn't know absolutely. I didn't know some of the black hat stuff that was going on. There's definitely a lot of the gray hat stuff that was going on I knew about. So I was by no means innocent. And Penguin rolled around, which was the big algorithm update, I think in 2012, and just destroyed us. I mean, our traffic, we lost 80% of our traffic from Google. And so from there, it was kind of we can kind of get in the details of what happened after that if you want, but yeah, it was a doozy.
So how were you able to recover then?
We really went through and did a couple of things. We went through and did do a link audit, went back and tried to clean up a lot of those nasty, dirty links. For anyone who's done it or even looked into it, it's a hard process. The disavow tool wasn't around at the time. And so we manually tried to contact a lot of webmasters and get things removed. So part of it was trying to clean up our off-page SEO. Part of it was improving our on-page SEO. We had some kind of spammy techniques on page, like footer links stuffed with keywords, at the bottoms that helped us rank pre-Penguin, but that kind of, I think, kicked in some spam filters post-Penguin. And then finally, we just relaunched the website completely from scratch, focusing on just adding a lot more valuable information in terms of resources and really rich product detail pages. And so it was kind of a three-legged stool. And so that's what the approach we took, and it helped us to get back a lot of our traffic. I don't know if we got all of it back, but we definitely probably got at least 50% plus of the traffic that we lost back over the course of maybe a 18-month period, 2-year period.
Wow. Yeah, I have a very similar story. I hired someone off Elance, and I knew it probably wasn't a great idea, but I figured being a marketer, my job is to kind of test different things and see what works. Plus, I think it was $80. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to pay $80, see what this can do. And my traffic dropped from about I think 100 people a day organically through Google down to 25 a day. And when you see that on Google Analytics, you're like, what happened? And I
Yep.
contacted the guy, and he's like, oh, no, it's not us. And I'm like, look, it obviously is. There's nothing else that it could have been. I got him to delete all the links and did use the disavow tool, but it took, a week or two before I saw any kind of improvements. It's not worth it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough, like thinking through. We were really white hat with our first site that we didn't get touched by Penguin,
Mm.
and thank goodness that we did it the old-fashioned way with that site. So yeah, it's it's definitely definitely exciting for a while, but man, you're almost certainly going to pay the reaper at some point.
Do you still outsource some of your SEO or
No,
okay, don't even
no,
yeah.
no, we don't. And I think you can do it. I think you can do it properly, but to do SEO outsourced properly is expensive because
Mhm.
anyone that's going to do it right like I said before, it's really hard work and time consuming work, you know? And so anyone that's going to be willing to do that and that knows what they're doing is not going to be cheap. So really our primary, we do most of it, almost all of it in-house between, me kind of doing the high level structuring and outreach for authority, and then also doing the content marketing, which is, kind of, you can probably do a whole, I'll probably do a whole podcast episode on the overlap between content marketing and SEO, but
Mhm.
yeah, we don't outsource it anymore.
Yeah. And so what do people do? Like if you do pay somebody, are they just reaching out and contacting like other blogs and other stuff for you, or what do they do nowadays?
Are you talking about if we're hiring like a
If you
reputable firm?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think it depends on. I probably am not a great resource because I haven't worked with a real, a
Mhm.
real reputable high-end SEO firm. But I think, you know, from talking to people, I think each firm kind of specializes in different aspects. Maybe some firms are really good at doing outreach and doing high quality guest posting. Maybe some firms are really good at pitching PR, doing kind of stuff with magazines and newspapers, things like that.
Mhm.
Some people maybe just do a really good consistent content marketing strategy and super fantastic on page. I'm not sure. I think, and obviously you could combine all of those, but I would, if I had to guess, I think it depends on the firm, and also really depends on what the niche that you are in. One of the things that I look at now, and I tell people to look at when they get into an e-commerce store, is like think through before you ever settle on a niche. How are you going to market this?
Mhm.
Like, because that's enormous. Like I use this kind of an extreme example, but would you rather market like rocking chairs or flying squirrel suits? Those suits that like people jump off of cliffs from and like soar all over the place. The options for marketing the latter in terms of interest and videos and connections and communities. It's just, I mean, it's just exponentially would be
Mhm.
exponentially easier in my opinion to do that. So I think it's a good SEO firm is going to vary their strategy based on what your niche is and what potential opportunities are there.
Yeah. So we talked about a few organic methods to get traffic other than Google. What are some that you recommend someone that's trying to grow their business to use?
For when you say organic, so you mean non-search engine
Not
means
yeah,
or
non-paid basically.
non-paid?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got, I mean, email is a great one, of course. And so just if you've got, I think a lot of times you'll hear people ask, internet entrepreneurs, e-commerce or otherwise, hey, what's one of your big regrets?
Mhm.
And, I'd say half the time people will say it's not starting an email list sooner. And this is something where we've done some email, and I'm by no means someone who has executed amazingly well on email. So for those that may know my backstory, just that disclaimer. But apart from SEO, email is an incredible way to get people coming back. It's an asset that you own. The ROI on it, I think, is either above or on par with SEO in terms of how much you get back for time you put in. So email is a huge one. Um, you can build up. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways in terms of paid traffic, paid channels. But if you're drop shipping, those are more difficult. If you're not drop shipping, if you've got margins in the 40% to 40% above range, then that's really nice. That's one of the things I'm most jealous about with people who have those higher margins and stock their own products. Is man, I mean, you get that dialed in, and SEO takes a while to build up and you can't speed it up. But if you can dial in a paid traffic campaign where hey, I'm paying $10 for every customer, but every time they come, they make me 25. Man, you can just dump money into that all day long and scale up a business really quickly. So those are the paid channels, email, and then referral marketing. In terms of just word of mouth, building a brand mouth to mouth, it's probably harder to do. It's harder to track, but it's more. I mean, it's probably the most powerful out of all of those three because word of mouth recommendations coming from someone you trust are infinitely more powerful than somebody clicking on a retargeting ad.
Yeah. So email marketing is something that I actually need to work on too. How do you get people to sign up? Like what are some methods you've used?
Yeah, in terms of e-commerce or just in general.
Let's say e-commerce or yeah, in general, both.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes down to having something like, you got to have some kind of incentive for people to sign up, right?
Mhm.
So on the e-commerce side, a lot of times it's common to do it to a discount, although then you end up paying for it.
Mhm.
Um, if you can identify like a really common problem people have, and you can offer a very specialized resource for them. That way, they can opt in and get that resource, ebook, whatever it is, in exchange for an email address. creating something of just something of quality that you can offer to people is probably the number one way to do it. Of course, if you have customers, you have that list built up over time that you can start to hit. But yeah, other than that, that's the best way to have a carrot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that also I've worked on in the past. We were giving a $5 off coupon to anybody that would sign up. And I think the problem was a lot of people would sign up just to get that coupon, even though they were already going to buy something anyways. I kind of was hoping that a lot of people, it's a weird thing because I was kind of hoping people would sign up that weren't really serious about purchasing, but at the same time, I want people to be buying my products. But we recently got rid of that, and I've added something to the blog because we have a blog too that basically was, sign up here and we'll give updates. But I couldn't figure out exactly what does my audience want, and that's been a bit of a challenge for me.
Yeah, and that's why it comes down to knowing your audience is just so crucial because you test those offers and see how those things work. So like on the e-commerce fuel side, for example, I know that I've got really two main groups: people that are just getting started and looking for a niche, and people that are kind of more established and looking to connect and kind of take their business to the next level. And so we don't do a perfect job of it, but we've definitely done a better job the last 6 months and plans in the future to do even more so of targeting those offers to those two segments, trying to figure out who they are so that because matching up the right offer with the right visitor is 80% of the battle.
Yeah. Another organic method of getting traffic that I've used personally with a lot of success is to rank things. And what we did in my dance clothing business is we ranked the top 50 dance studios. And we worded it a little bit better because we didn't want to say, oh, one's better than another one. But we basically said that we want to give credit to these 50 dance studios because they're really doing something amazing. And we published this about 2 or 3 months ago, and I kind of let it sit there just to see, what would happen. And it had some decent traffic. But about 3 weeks ago, I think, I sent all of them emails saying, by the way, you made it to our top 50 list. It was insane. We've had over 20,000 visitors from that, and
Wow.
they're highly targeted. These are, first off, we're telling people that own dance studios, we think you're amazing. By the way, we have a dance clothing. We don't even talk, in the email, we don't say we have a dance clothing company, but if they see the website, they can see, hey, this B dancewear, what do they sell? Oh, but not only that, they're telling the dancers, all the people that come to their studio, go check out how good my studio is, how good your studio is on this website. And that's been huge for us. So,
Yeah, awesome tactic for sure.
yeah, and I think you were saying similar stuff with like buying guides. And what did you mean by buying guides, by the way?
I just going through, and it depends on how complicated of a buying process there is for whatever it is you're selling. But assuming it's moderately to extremely difficult, you can go through and just put together what people need to be thinking about when they buy your product. Like, what are the common mistakes? What brands are best? What products are best? Just educating people on all those decisions so they can make an informed decision for purchasing.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a lot of material to get people to your website. What about keeping your customers coming back? What do you do for your sites?
To be honest, this is one area where we probably could do a lot better job. And I think it depends on two things. I think one, it depends on the nature of your niche.
Hmm.
If you are selling, I'm trying to think of a one-off service. If you're selling something that isn't, I had a couple ideas, but they were gonna be terrible examples that I'd regret using. But if you sell something people only buy once, that's tough.
Hmm.
That's one thing going into my next business is going to be a huge criteria for me looking at it is what is the potential for repeat business here? Because as everyone knows, it's so much easier to sell to an existing customer versus someone who's hasn't worked with you before and doesn't have any trust for you there. So that being said, I think the best ways to do that, again, email is going to be far and away your best resource for that, assuming that you've got a decent repeat purchase profile for your niche. So yeah, hands down, it would be email.
Yeah, and talking about trust, one of the things that you talked about in a speech of yours I was listening to is an about page and how important that is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a guy in the private forum. His name's Andrew Bleakley. He's got a really good site about shopping carts, andrewbleakley.com. And he's worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of store owners. And he said the number one thing that he has seen that has increased conversion more than any other single change when redesigning sites or testing sites is taking the About Us page from a generic hello, we are company X and we sell product Y. You can contact us here. To being very personal, saying, hey, we're Mike and Amy. We live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Here's a picture of us. We fell in love with snowboarding. And, having it be really personal, putting your face on it, putting your story on there, because people like buying from people. They don't like buying from companies. And so yeah, that's something that just it's something we're focusing on a lot with the big redesign we're doing now. It's something we've had success with in the past on our boat motor site. So just personalizing that, because that's one of the huge things that really allows you to, not solely, you can't build a business just around this unless you're really good at it, but it's a great way to differentiate against Amazon, because Amazon can't be personal. They can't be niche focused. So yeah, a personal about us page and personalizing that brand can be hugely impactful.
Yeah, something I've heard a lot through your podcast actually is that in the future, it looks like it's going to be Amazon and the really niche specific small guys. And you're right, Amazon is never going to be able to call up and be like, hey, how's that boat motor going? Here's some tips, whatever. They can't do it. They're not that. They're the Walmart of the online world, and that's the value you can offer as a small company. I think that's very important. So I know sometimes people would actually call up from your site, the Trolling Motors, and be like, "Hey, is this Andrew or is this Pat I'm talking to right now?" And that's just cool. They feel like they know you before they even bought something.
Yeah, no, it is cool. It's kind of it's not creepy. Creepy isn't the right word, but I think it's some people are kind of surprised sometimes. Back in when I was doing a lot of more of the customer service aspect of things, yeah, they'd call up, they'd be like, "Wow, are you the dude that did the videos?" And I'd be like, "I am," and it would just kind of blow them away, which is it's kind of cool. So.
Yeah. So what do you do about customer support now? Do you handle it personally or?
No, I mean usually most of the time no. I've got a great team that helps me out. So we've got someone here in Bozeman that helps out with this. That's our sales manager and kind of our operations manager, and he handles all of that. So for kind of tier one stuff, we've got some great team members in the Philippines that help out with kind of basic email questions, a lot of kind of the admin work, and then if there's something that can't get handled there, that'll get kicked up to my sales manager Pat, who's been with us for a while and really knows the business well and does a fantastic job. So, and then if there's anything that he is, not sure about or can't handle, which doesn't happen, excuse me, too frequently, then he'll kick that up to me. So we've got a good team that helps out with the whole process.
How'd you go about finding your virtual assistants?
First one I found, and she's still with me. Not first one, but the one that there's about six months where like most things you dive into, made a bunch of mistakes and cycled through about three VAs. She's been with me for oh my goodness, 5 years plus, and I found her through an agency.
Mhm.
About a year in, maybe the agency went belly up, disappeared, and so I hired her directly, which has actually worked out really well because she like doubled her salary and I saved a ton,
Mm.
which like I mean, those guys were marking her up a lot. So ultimately, blessing in disguise. And then the other team member VA that I found was actually a referral from her. So we just asked her, "Hey, who do you know and that you recommend and trust?" And we brought that hired, interviewed that person and brought them on board. So that's how we went about that.
Yeah, I found my VA through onlinejobs.ph, and I thought that was a great, it seemed kind of shady when I first was looking at it, but they offered the 30-day money back guarantee, and I love my VA. Like I wouldn't even say it's doubled my productivity. It's probably tripled my productivity because I'm constantly thinking, hey, if I don't have work for her to do, I'm wasting money, so I better get my work done so I can figure out what she's gonna do, and it's just been amazing. And I think if you're a small business, online store owner, and you're thinking about making that next step, I think getting a VA is a great way to get some motivation.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think you do have to be a little careful if you're constantly thinking through like, shoot, my VA is not doing anything. I need to come up with something for them to do. You fall into the trap of creating work that's not that crucial
Mm,
just so you don't feel bad about spending money, right? So I think a great time to have a VA is when you can look at your business and say, oh my goodness, there's all this stuff that is I can create a very repeatable process for it. I can outline what needs to be done.
hmm
I can systemize it. I just don't have anyone to follow that system to do it.
hmm
And if you can do that and point to your business, that's something that's taking a moderate to significant amount of time right now. Oh yeah, a VA will be immensely valuable. But I think if you're looking at it and you get a VA and you're just like, well, I'm not quite sure what they're going to do, but I think that's where people run into problems. So
Yeah, the way that what was going on with me is I had a lot of ideas of things that I wanted to do, and it kind of fell into a couple different categories. Some of them were really good ideas, but I knew they'd be really tedious and boring, and I'm like, Like for instance, I have all my products on Amazon, and we have a lot of different colors and a lot of different sizes, and it's very tedious to. We have over like I think 3,300 different little products that all need to be on an Excel sheet. And I knew I needed to do that, but I'm like, eh. But once I hired her, it's like, yeah, you go do that. And same thing with the product listing ads within Google. That's kind of a tedious process making that. But once I got her, it's like, yeah, just you go do that. So it kind of took all these like creative ideas I had and made me make them practical. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, nice, very cool.
So another thing I know you're really big on is testing prices. So can you tell me a little bit about how you go about testing your prices?
Yeah, it's especially if you're drop shipping, the smaller your margin is. So the margin, is the percentage profit you make that you sell. So let's say you sell something for $100, costs you 80, you make $20 profit. So your gross margin would be 20%, 20 divided by 100. The smaller your margin is, the bigger the impact having changing your prices will have to your profits. So, because for example, if let's use that scenario again, you raise your price from 100 dollars to 110, your customer sees a 10% increase in price, but your profit goes up 50% from 20 to $30. So scaled across all of your orders, it makes a huge difference. And so just in the past, we've had some of our biggest wins have been, and we need to do this. It's been a little while since we've really done some testing on this. So, but some of our biggest wins in terms of the amount of time we've put into something versus the reward that we saw have been price changes, just going on and changing our prices on our top products. And the way we did it, it wasn't super scientific. We went in, and because there's a lot of variables and a lot of moving parts with this, but we went in, identified our top, maybe 25 best sellers, went in, raised the price on those anywhere from 5 to 15%, and did it in a clean month. So, maybe May, we had the old pricing. June, we did the new pricing, and just computed the per dollar profit and the overall profitability of the company. Took into account a little bit of seasonality based on last year, was June better or worse? And so we kind of would adjust a little bit based on any seasonality trends that we were trying to control for. And at least in our scenario, I think we raised our profits by like 35% in the course of a month for about 8 hours of work, which, I mean, you think about that versus trying to increase your traffic 35%, that's craziness. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's something that has been a big win for us in the past.
Yeah, that's something I'm actually looking at doing, but I was kind of nervous about the technical side of things. Like, so how do you actually do it? And it sounds like I kind of like your method. It's just do it, see what the change is. Because I was trying to go about it. Okay, well, is it going to be the percentage of people that buy? But you don't always know that right away, and then all this kind of weird stuff. And I truthfully believe that a little bit of change in price doesn't necessarily make a huge difference whether someone's going to buy it or not. Like I know a while back we had to raise our prices, I think, by like $1, and I was super nervous. I was like, oh man, it's $1 more. Nobody's going to buy it. It doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, it really depends. I think, well, I know that the more expensive the item, the more sensitive people are to price changes. So, we sold boat motors for a while. And in that market, people were super price sensitive because I use this example a lot too. Think about a big screen TV. If you're buying a big screen TV, you're going to shop around, man,
Hmm.
especially if you know what you want, because even if shopping around only saves you $20, in your mind, you're making like a $700 purchase. That's a big deal. It justifies the time expense of shopping around. Whereas if you're going and you're shopping for the HDMI cable for that TV, it's $30. I mean, are you really going to go shop that around in 5 places? You could probably save just as much, $20 off, but because the price is lower psychologically, you'll probably buy that where you buy your main ticket item. And so I think it really depends. I think it's much easier to get away with uh, charging a little more of a premium on those lower cost accessories versus kind of the keystone item people
Yeah.
are shopping for.
No, that's true. I think that's how Best Buy and a lot of those companies make their money is they keep the big products low so you'll buy the warranty or the small items. So
Yeah, absolutely.
when you did the change, did you just change your prices? So from 1 month they were the normal price and then the next month you raised them. Did you test again or you just compared the two data there?
No, I mean we saw that and we just tracked it for a couple months to make sure it was a consistent positive up change. But yeah, we just left them at that level and did a little bit more tweaking, but for the most part stayed there. We, it's been a little while since we tested and need to get back do another round of testing here the next months. But yeah, that was pretty much the process.
Okay. And do you split test a lot of different things on your website, or do you not really get around to that?
We do to some degree. Yeah, it's interesting because A/B testing is really powerful, and I think it is important to do, and I think everyone needs to be doing it. It also, I think, gets talked about a little bit more idealistically than people realize. It's easy to say, "Oh, hey, you should be A/B split testing; it'll save you a ton of time and money." It will, but what people don't realize also is one, tests take a long time to run.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the tests are either inconclusive or don't show a meaningful increase.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, you have to kind of weigh those against, doing other things like marketing or other aspects of your business. So yeah, we definitely do testing. We try to focus on really high impact parts of our website. One mistake I made recently was thinking, oh, hey, the homepage is where most people land, so we're going to start testing there and run a bunch of tests there. We did, and it wasn't super conclusive, wasn't super helpful. What we kind of are moving towards now is testing much closer to the checkout end, right? Because when you're testing a homepage, yeah, you can see that. That's where most people see, but that's not going to have the biggest impact on purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're going to be able to make the biggest impact is optimizing the last, the last quarter of a mile versus the whole mile track from beginning to end. So yeah, we do it, but I think you have to be careful about not feeling like you have to not feeling like you have to back every single decision up with data, because as smaller merchants, independent merchants, you want to do it for the big things, but if you try to do it for everything, you're going to be paralyzed.
Yeah, I agree. I think that split testing is something that we do to some degree, but the problem I always run into is kind of like you said. There's so many variables that I feel like, well, how do I know if this was the cause of it or if it was something else? And on top of that, it is hard to get enough numbers to really have meaningful data. Because if you really, I forget what the term is, but if you see if it's like statistically significant or not, a change, it has to be a pretty dramatic change with a lot of sample sizes for it to be statistically significant. So that's definitely something to consider. All right, one more question before we kind of wrap things up. But I know that you spent a lot of money up front on the design of your website for Trolling Motors, I believe, and you ended up changing it later. What's your idea on spending, a full website design, spending a lot of money on that? Do you recommend it or?
It's a funny question. Have you read the most recent post I did by chance about the new design we're doing?
Um,
Travis, you there?
yeah, yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
No, I think I
yeah.
saved that
I,
one because
I,
I was thinking about it. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I just no worries if wasn't expecting you to. It's funny because that ties into something we're doing now. Yeah, I think it really depends because like you mentioned, spent about $5,000 on a brand spanking new, nicely designed site for our boat motor site right when we started the business. Right out of the gates before customer one, committed to a nice redesign, and it ended up being a huge mistake because we couldn't change the design. We we really didn't know what our customers needed when we designed it. We didn't know how the functionality would tie into the questions that they had because we didn't know anything about the niche because we started the business 2 weeks before and didn't have a lot of background on it. And so in that situation, spending a lot on a really flashy design before we had an established business, an established brand, knew what our customers wanted and how our website could serve them was a huge mistake. But right now we're in the middle of a huge, massive redesign on one of my sites that sells radio equipment. And on that one, we're dropping, it's like a $50,000 budget for the redesign. The reason why we're doing that after making such a, kind of writing off the previous one, which was much smaller as a mistake, almost seems like we're, doubling down and to make a huge mistake again, is just because we've been running this business for 7 years, 6, 7 years. And there's a lot of, on one hand, it's addressing some core usability problems, which we weren't worried about on the first one. It was more vanity, having a site that just looked flashy.
Mm-hmm.
This time, we're actually using the redesign to change, mobile, to have a killer mobile site, to change some issues with some UX issues, to really change the way, to improve some things and some problems that we found people encountered when they went through the shopping experience when they were trying to pick our types of products. So that's one aspect of it. And so we have an established business. We know what to change. And so I'm kind of rambling on a little bit, but bottom line is we're investing in an established business where we know there are functional issues that we can improve. And so that's why I think it really depends. Ultimately, you ask, is it worth it to spend a lot of money? I think early days, you should really get traction before you spend money on a flashy design or even a design that's hopefully going to increase just usability,
Mm-hmm.
which is what good design should do. But I think, yeah, you can, once you start having more of a track record, the business is making money, and you see very tangible things, then I think that's where it makes sense to kind of spend a little bit more in both to build a better brand presence in terms of trust with the design and also on the usability side.
Okay, so it sounds like upfront, make sure it's very usable, and then once you know your audience, then it's okay to spend a little bit more money on once you've tested everything out, spend the money on making it a better, usable, more friendly site, kind of thing.
Yeah, just right out of the gates. Don't worry so much about the flashy design. Get a template, use a stock theme, whatever it is, and validate. Spend time on marketing and validation, and then once you get that done and you're growing, then that's the time to maybe invest a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on. So, any last parting advice for those e-commerce entrepreneurs?
For e-commerce entrepreneurs or people in their 20s?
Both. Let's do both.
Both. We've been
Yeah,
talking about e-commerce. Maybe just do 20s. I'd say if you're in your 20s,
yeah.
because again, I love the concept of this of the podcast. We were talking about how your 20s is just such a pivotal decade. It determines just so much, either for good or for bad, about the rest of your life, how it folds out. And I just say, if you're in your 20s and listening to this, try to save as much as you can. Try to limit the number of financial obligations you have. And if you can at all do it and you want to, take a shot at your own business now. Make the sacrifices that you need to for a couple of years and give yourself a shot at it, because it doesn't only gets harder. It only gets harder to make that leap, especially as you have more obligations, financial and family. Family are great obligations, but it still makes it a little harder to build a business. So live leanly, don't spend a ton of money, and if you want to do it, doing it now is the time to do it. So,
Well, thank you, Andrew, so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
hey, thanks for having me on, Travis. It's been fun.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, make sure you hit the big red subscribe button down below. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter, and I release a new video every Monday, and by hitting that subscribe button, you'll get those new videos every Monday. And this is really a podcast. It's also a website. You can check out the website. It's howtodoyour20s.com. I'll put a link right over here as well. And what it's all about is trying to improve your life. And we specifically focus on things that people in their 20s are interested in. So make sure you like the video if you liked it. Subscribe, like us on Facebook and Twitter, whatever. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again on another video.